I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Peace, family. It's so good to be with you tonight. I just found out there's a nor'easterner that's supposed to be happening, or it's happening right now. I don't know. But it feels really good outside here in New York City. So I'm so excited to have Dr. Karenga return back. He's been with us a few times, but also if you are opening up your HAPI newsletter, you'll see that he's been contributing an article for the last, I want to say like 2.5 years. So, family, that newsletter is super important for you to open up and to read, because the articles are very well thought out by scholars. So please, family, check in with that. And by the way, so let me tell you, just in case you're not subscribed to the newsletter, you're going to go to happyfilm.com and you just hit the Get Connected button and you will get connected right there. Put in your information. And this means, and let me tell you what it means to be connected, because social media is one thing. And we always try to put stuff up on social media, but sometimes people could just take stuff off of social media, or they can shut your account, or they can do all types of things. But the email address is nice because we always have a way to stay in constant community with the family. Okay. So we always, we're asking that you not only follow us on all the platforms, but also be connected to the HAPI newsletter, because, and quite frankly, there's stuff in the newsletter that we actually don't say when we're doing HAPI Talks. So, little information. Sometimes we have discounts for stuff. It's also an opportunity if you have a small business, or if you have a big business, or if you just have something you want to get out. This is a community paper. So we have advertising, and I'm going to put that up for you if you want to advertise. But then we also include pieces when you submit them. So sometimes there's people who submit articles, and as long as it aligns with who we are over here in HAPI land, then we have no problems, reposting your articles. Lately, we've been blessed to have people who have been inspired to write poems. We had Stephen Gray this October newsletter. He wrote an article, a poem entitled Asada Shakur. It was beautiful. Okay. So what I'm saying, family, if you have hidden talents, or you just want the community to know something, please send us an email. You can send it to the same email right here, which is happymarketingads@gmail.com. Also, family, we have our clearance sale is still going on. Okay. Because in a minute, we're going to be launching whole new everything. And so we still have some of these beautiful hoodies that I have on. We still have some of those left. We have t-shirts. So family, it's priced to sell. So you want to just go ahead and, you can get everything done at happyfilm.com. Okay. Now, for those of you that do not know, because it's so interesting. Sometimes I talk to people, and I think people forget that we have a whole documentary that we shot a few years ago that premiered in 2021. And so it's called HAPI, From Crops to Stocks. You can go to Amazon to check it out, Tubi, and Quayle TV right there. So HAPI's on there. You can check out it's about 2 hours and 12 minutes. And we really look at the history of money. So family, make sure that if you haven't seen that, because that really is the essence it's part of the essence of who we are. And so if you have a chance, please check out the documentary. And last but not least, family, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Okay. And you have to hit the notifications buttons. So when you are subscribed to the channel and you hit the notifications button, you know exactly when we go live. And peace out to Michael Guest. He was like the first person. He was like, "What's up? Come on. How's Baba Karenga doing?" He was ready. Okay. So family, please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel, but that you also hit the notifications button. That is super important. And last but not least, Cash App and the Super Chat. If you feel inclined to donate to our channel, all of our money goes back into other Black people. Everything that we do, the graphics, the videotaping, the events, it's all given people in the community. We're circulating dollars within our HAPI sphere. So family, please, a little bit goes a long way. So if you could, you can hit us up on the Cash App Love. I got that from King Simon. Or you can, go ahead and connect to us by Super Chat. If you're on the only if you're on YouTube, you can hit the Super Chat. All right. So, and let me just get this off and make sure that you like and subscribe. Just like, hit the like button. Okay, fam. So, like I said, this is great because Dr. Karenga, he's been around. He came on our show years ago, and we were like, yes, another elder, because I'll tell you, these elders are a library of information, and they do not stop. In fact, I think every year that they get older, they get faster and they do more stuff. So Dr. Maulana Karenga, he is a professor and chair of the Department of Africana Studies at California State University in Long Beach. He is a chair of the organization US and the National Association of Kawida. I've been practicing this and I still can't say the word. Kawida organizations. He is executive director of the African American Cultural Center and Kawida Institute of Pan-African Studies. Dr. Karenga is the co-chair of the Black Community, Clergy, and Labor Alliance, also known as BCCLA. Dr. Karenga, he has written numerous books, and scholarly articles, which you can find in the HAPI newsletter, which include Kawida and Questions of Life and Struggle, Maat, The Moral Ideal of Ancient Egypt, a study in classical African ethics, selections from the Husia, Sacred Wisdom of Ancient Egypt, which is what we're going to be talking about today. He also wrote the Introduction to Black Studies, the 4th edition, and Uda Ifa, The Ethical Teachings. Dr. Karenga is the creator of the Pan-African cultural holiday Kwanzaa and Nguzo Saba, the 7 Principles, and author of the authoritative text titled Kwanzaa, a celebration of family, community, and culture. He is the subject of a book by Dr. Malefe Asante titled Maulana Karenga, An Intellectual Portrait. And then I didn't know. All the other stuff I knew, but I was like, wow, do you know how awesome you have to be for someone to say, I'm going to write a book about you while you're still alive? Like, that's beautiful. I have to pick this one up. And finally, Dr. Karenga is currently writing a major work on Hajj Malcolm X titled The Liberation Ethics of Hajj Malcolm X, Critical Consciousness, Moral Grounding, and Transformative Struggle. Please, family, I introduce you to Dr. Maulana Karenga.
Good afternoon, Felicia.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening.
Dining Hotel.
Yes.
Peace and blessings. I wish for you blessings without number and all good things without end. So that's what I want to say on behalf of my organization, African American Culture Center, US, and its advocates would like to say, among us, you will always find your family in a peaceful place, and we wish for you blessings without number and all good things without end. And we bear witness as an African people that as our beginning was great and good, so shall our development to our eternity be, if we dare struggle speak truth, do justice, and walk in the way of righteousness. Hotep,
Mm,
Ashe, Hede.
Ashe. That is awesome. You don't play around, Dr. Karenga. Some people talk about stuff, but you actually do what you talk about. So I really appreciate that.
Try to do our best. Africa means excellence, and we must strive for excellence in honor of our ancestors. For how can we best serve them and honor them than by trying as best we can to live the legacy they left us? And
Mm,
that's what I try to do. Live the legacy they left us. Mhm,
absolutely.
mhm.
Absolutely. Um, okay. So we need to get into this because I remember when you first talked about well, first of all, wait. Let me first say congratulations to 60 years of your center.
Yes, 60 years of the African
Yeah.
American Culture Center, 60 years to celebrate Nguzo Saba, my creation of Nguzo Saba, and also the introduction of my philosophy, Kawaida, out of which I created both the Nguzo Saba and the holiday, Pan African holiday Kwanzaa. So, yes, 60 years. That's a long time. We call it 240 seasons of love and service, of struggle and work and institution building. It's a beautiful 6 decades and 240 seasons.
Yeah. And you're not stopping.
No,
That's the other piece. You're not stopping.
no,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
all
Thank
the
you.
way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So all right. So can you for everyone who doesn't know, can you just first start off with what is the Husia?
Right. And also, I'm not starting for just those who don't know. I'm starting also for those who do know but want a deeper understanding, because we must
Yes.
always learn. And one of the things that we have to challenge our people to is to always struggle to know more. No matter what we know, no matter what I know, I always struggle to learn more, because guess what? There's an infinite library of lessons of beauty and good and resilience and resourcefulness and struggle and soulfulness and sacredness in an achievement in our history and in the culture that contains it all. So I don't want people to say they already know this and therefore they don't need to know. We
Mm,
always need to know. And I'm saying this not for the people that don't know. I'm saying for the people that don't know and do know. For example, how many people know what Husia means? Right? Husia, and what is the history of Husia? So Husia is a sacred text that I've been compiling for 40 years. I thought when I first started in 1980s, early 1980s, and especially in 1984 when I first introduced it, I said, in 20 years I will have this, because I know the work that it takes, right? And
mhm.
I read how long it took other people to compile this sacred text, whether it was the Bible or the Torah or the Quran or the Dhammapada or the Popol Vuh, right, or the Bhagavad Gita. It takes time to go and select the text, to put them in order, and then to give an interpretation of them that people can use to ground themselves, orient themselves, and direct them their lives toward good and expansive end. So the Husia is a sacred text. People had called for a black Bible, but I said no. We already have a Bible. We don't need a black Bible. We need a black sacred text, and by that I mean a sacred text rooted in the most ancient history of African people, right? It doesn't mean that people can't take the Bible or the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or other texts from other regions. But what does Africa have to say before any of these people exist? What does Africa have to say? And that's what I wanted to do. And the Husia is a collection and translation and interpretation of these ancient texts. Husia is made up of two words, because every sacred text, and we'll explain this in the master class. We're having a master class, as you know, beginning this Sunday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Western Time. And what we're doing is having this master class on the Husia, starting with the context in which it was created, what it means. And Husia is two Egyptian words that means creative and authoritative speech of exceptional and generative insight. These are the two powers by which Ra, God, in the ancient Egyptian theology and creation narrative, these are the two powers by which Ra conceived and made the world. He conceived the world in his heart and mind and spoke it, and it came to be with that speech. That's why we call this speech creative speech and authoritative speech, and why we call it also exceptional insight and generative insight. It's like beyond anything, right? And it's also generative. That is, it produces things. So that's what Husia means. And I just thought we did need a sacred text that existed in the dawn of human history, right? The first discussions about what it means to be human, the ideas of dignity, the idea of human rights, the idea of being in the image of God. All this is in this text, right? And so I just wanted to make this rich library of lessons and beautiful understandings to be a part of our daily conversation and to have it in Black people's hand. And then they can do what they want to use it in the most ethical, effective, and expansive ways.
So okay, so I noticed like because you brought up like the Quran and the Bible, but
Yeah.
when you're talking about the Husia, you say sacred text. Like what makes it like why are you using the word sacred?
So all those texts have some relationship with a transcendent idea, whether it's God or whether it's a transcendent idea like Tao for the Taoist text, right? For Confucianism, like Brahman with the Hindus, Yahweh with the Jews, Jehovah with the Christians, Allah with the Muslims. They have some relationship with that, right? But all the religions don't have a Godhead. All the African religions do, but other religions in the world might. So I say the transcendent. So God is transcendent. And so it's sacred because it not only is part of what you consider transcendent, that is beyond desecration, devaluation, and degradation, right? So if you see that, you don't want to violate it, you want to degrade it, you don't want to desecrate it. What you want to do is uphold it up. That makes it sacred. It's set aside as something special that is related to the highest ideas of humankind. And the highest idea for religious people, of course, is God. But the highest idea, say, for Taoism is Tao, right? And then one of the highest ideas, of course, for us in the Maatan tradition is Maat. But Maat, in our ancestors' conception, is a daughter of Ra. And Maat came from Ra, God. That's the name they use most often for God in ancient Egyptian. So sacred, right? It emanates from the divine. Maybe that's a better word than even transcendent when I'm talking with your audience. So the divine, it emanates from the divine, some concept of divine. And second, you set it aside as something special that is beyond violation, degradation, misuse, etc.
So would because I'm glad you brought up Maat. So how does the or what is the relationship with there's like the 42 laws of Maat. Like how is that different or is that incorporated in the Husia?
Yeah, that's in one of the books, but they're not laws. I'm not sure why people put that in. These are called the 42 deck. That's why we need to not assume we already know, but to say, hey, I have some knowledge. Let's see. Let's check it against somebody else's knowledge. So anyhow, this is part of the concept of life after death, of where you go after life. every religion has an eschatology. That's the end of what is going to happen. What does all this mean? After we die, where are we going? So the Egyptians had several stages for dying and rising. They had first resurrection they believed that if they lived a righteous life, they would, number one, be resurrected. They would rise in heaven. They would be judged and hopefully judged favorably. They would be accepted in the company of the divine, and they would be transformed into a living divine being themselves. So it's the 5 stages they went through. Now, when they're judged by 36 and 42 values, right?
Okay.
And these values are put in a negative way. So people call them negative confession, but they're not negative confession. You see, when you confess, that's a whole different kind of thing. What they're doing is declaring themselves innocent. That's not a confession. A confession is you indict yourself for something wrong you did. There's nothing like that in the 36 and 42. The first ones are the 36, and then you do 42 more. But the 42 actually are some are duplicates of the 36. And I'll explain that in the class, right? And I'll tell you the different words and how they do them. Now, when you are judged, so you die, you are resurrected, you rise in radiance in the heavens, and if you are righteous, you live for eternity and sit in the sacred circle of the ancestors, as we say, among the doers of good, the righteous and the rightfully rewarded. That's how you do. So you go to the judgment hall of Maat, and you say, welcome, I've come, I brought you Maat. As King Una says, I want to be judged by what I've done. I've done Maat. I've brought Maat here. So we come in the hall, you say, I'm bringing Maat. I've put away Isfet. Put away the wrong. Isfet is the wrong, the evil. Maat is the right and the good. And then you declare yourself innocent. And the first innocence is, I have not done wrong to people. Doesn't mean you might not ever done wrong, but you haven't done it as a pattern, as a practice, as a part of your character, right? You made mistakes, you corrected them, you moved away from them, you don't do them anymore. I have not mistreated, I've not done wrong to people. The second declaration of innocence is, and this is one of my favorite ones, I have not impoverished my family and friends. And I ask my class a lot of times, what do you mean? Because I think the only class in Mayan ethics, right? I kind of introduced this field into the academy. And when I asked them, what do you think this means? I have not impoverished my family and friends. And of course, most of them say, money. You took money from them. You cost them. But I said, no, there's a greater impoverishment. There's an impoverishment of the mind and the heart and the spirit, right? You've seen people, I say, who are so happy and so successful, and they hook up with the wrong person, and the person kills their spirit, impoverishes them, where they can't flourish and come into the fullness of themselves. So that's a beautiful one, And I've not put injustice in the place of justice. I've not known, and this is one most people, I still am thinking about this. I've not known that which does not exist. And the fifth one is I've not done evil, right? So it's a lot. It's a lot to this, and there are innocence against 3 basic realms: the divine, nature, and other humans. The majority of the Declaration of Innocence is that you have not done certain things to humans, and it starts with what you've done to humans. People might say, who are very religious, well, why didn't it start like with the Torah and the Bible that starts with their commandment, have no other gods? That wasn't an issue with Africans. Africans assumed the priority of God and went on from there. And besides, they knew, as you can't really do anything to God. The killing is of other humans. impoverishing is of other humans. The harming is of other humans, right? The starving and the committing of genocide, as in Palestine, right? That's against other humans, right? The enslavement, as with us, the genocide against the Native Americans, that's against other humans, right? So they start with, what have you done in your relationship with other humans, right? With your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your wife, your husband, your lover, your partner, your friend, your neighbor, the stranger. So there's all these declarations, and I always read them, not as I have not done this, but I say, may it be said of me, I have not done this. May it be said of me. And then there's prohibitions against killing, against lying, against making people cry or making them sad. I mean, those are beautiful ones. I like that. I have not caused grief to people. That's so important, that you don't make people sad, that you bring joy to their lives, right? And that you have to answer for making people grieve.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's a beautiful book, right? And that's what I'm teaching beginning this Sunday for 4 Sundays. It's a 4-Sunday master class on the Husia.
Yeah.
And you have it up. And I just wanted to say the theme that we have is reading, interpreting, and understanding the Husia. 3 things now: reading, second, interpreting, and understanding the Husia. So I want to give you skills in reading it and seeing things in it you might have missed. And you see new things in it the more you read, and also the more you read it in the company of others, and the more you question it with other people. We have to have collaborative learning. We have to learn with and for each other, right? Learning with each other, learning for each other. Then interpreting it. I'm going to talk about 2 basic ways how you interpret: reading exactly what it is, but also expanding it. So we call that reading from and reading into, extracting from and reading into it. Okay. And then finally understanding it in a whole new way. And why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? The second part of the theme is seeking the well-being of ourselves and the world. So again, reading, interpreting, and understanding the Husia, seeking the well-being of ourselves and the world. Right. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is, oh, you were going to say something? I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you.
No, I was just going to ask you, like, how do you when you think about maybe teachers or parents, just people, when they take this class, like how do you integrate this in the classroom or within your family?
We just talk plain to people, the same way people integrate the Bible. You just talk plain to them. People, just something you like. I mean, I grew up, say, for example, the sacred text that I grew up with is the Bible. So we read the Bible, talked about it. My father was a minister, but my mother was very Christian, very much. And so one of her great joys was for me and the other children to memorize verses in the Bible. And I used to feel great and good. I shouldn't say good. I used to feel good just sitting on the floor with below her and just doing what? Reciting Bible verses. She liked Bible verses like Psalms, for strength. And my father was, he expected me to know not just the Bible, but to know the world. So he wanted always to apply. How do I take the Bible and understand what's going on in the world and how I should relate to my sisters and brothers, right? So that's what you do. You take these sacred texts and you try to live as best you can. The teachings are not always commandments. They are lessons. And one of the things you find about the Husia is there's not commandments. There's not commandments in the way you have it in the I should say the Abrahamic faiths, right? So God commanded this. What you have rather in there is that There's instruction for life. And people feel that they're inspired by what they, at their best moral reasoning, feel and think that God wants. And God, above all, they say, wants Maat, truth, justice, propriety, harmony, reciprocity, and righteous order. That's another thing I introduced in part of my study, was to ask, what are some of the basic values in all these texts that we can use to have a Maatian value system that you can see right there, right? Even if you don't read all the text, you know that these are the 7 values that are core to what it means to practice Maat, to be a Maatian person. So the first is truth. And the reason I use these 7 is because all of them can be translated as Maat, some directly, some indirectly. So if I say, what is the word for truth in Egyptian? It's ancient Egyptian or Medu Neter. It's Maat. What's the word for justice? It's Maat, right? I go on down there and I can make a case for each of those principles. So I call them cardinal virtues, the most important virtues. So we can't have a relationship if people are lying, right? There's no basis for that. We can't have a relationship with people that don't do justice, right? And the justice is not just procedural justice, it's substantive justice that involves caring for the person and wanting for them what you want for yourself and treating them fairly and equitably, right? And then the question of propriety. A lot of times, Black people and Americans in general, they don't want to do things that proper. Proper? Why we got to be proper? That sounds like the white man. No, wait a minute, comrade. Before the white men existed, here's a word. When there's a propriety, there's appropriate things to do. There's certain things I would never say to my mother that I might say to my friends, right? Or even say to my wife or say to my children. Absolutely. My father and mother, they have a special role. Certain things I wouldn't say to my children, right? Certain things I wouldn't say to my wife. Certain things I wouldn't say to my friend. We have to have boundaries. One of the first acts of the Creator is to establish boundaries. One of the fundamental descriptions of the ancient Egyptian pre-creation is unboundedness, right? And Ra, in creating the universe, put boundaries there, put stars in orbits, etc., and made it so that there was some structure to the universe, right? That's boundedness. And if we don't set boundaries for ourselves, people might do anything for us. First thing you get in a relationship, you got to set boundaries, especially if you're a woman. You got to set boundaries. People cross boundaries in a minute. People get up in a woman's face, they won't get up in a man's face like that. Rescue me if I'm wrong, right? No. So you got to set boundaries. So that's propriety, setting boundaries on yourself and setting boundaries on others, right? And that way we can relate well together. You haven't invaded my space, you haven't invaded me, you haven't threatened me. Hey, either in speech or conduct. And then, of course, harmony and balance. Harmony is very important. We got to live together. That's the Umoja principle in the 7th principle. Without Umoja, we can't do anything, right? I mean, we can't have friendship. We can't have love. We can't have family. We can't have an organization. Without unity, we can't do it. So we have to have this harmony of what we call a principled, purposeful, and practical relationship where we're doing good in harmony for and with each other. And then, of course, balance, right? Balance is very important. Absolutely. We have to be balanced. We can't go to one extreme or the other. The Husia says that Ra put the heart deep in the body for the benefit of our owners so that we would know balance, so that we would feel and think. The Egyptians believe the heart and mind are the same word. Ib is mind and heart. So what you feel, you think, what you think, you feel. That I'll discuss that in the class also. So that we never just think without feeling. Because if we can think without feeling, we can commit genocide and say, hey, I was just savagely defending myself because I don't feel. I'm dehumanizing other people, right? But if I feel and don't think, people that think and are plotting would take advantage of my good feeling. Rescue me if I'm wrong. Anybody ever been in a bad relationship or one-sided relationship knows that. So you got to feel and think at the same time. right? And you got to think good and feel good also. But you have to be protective of yourself. And then, of course, we say the next one's reciprocity. And that is that we have to give as we are given.
Mm.
Uh, the Creator gave us life, gave us the capacity to choose, gave us the conditions of life. And we have to return that. We have to give life. We can't take life, we will give life. All that we do has to have three basic characteristics to it. It must be dignity affirming, right? Second, it must be life enhancing. And third, it must be world preserving. Dignity affirming, that's ultimate respect for the human person, right? The human person is sacred in the
Mhm.
image of the divine and a bearer of dignity and inherent worthiness that is transcendent of all social and biological characteristics, race, class, gender, sexuality, age, religion, etc. Second, this dignity, shepeso in ancient Egyptian, is in it's pardon me, it's equal in all. In other words, nobody has more dignity, inherent dignity that you're born with than the other. And finally, it's inalienable. Nobody can take it from you, and you can't even take it. In fact, the concept of dignity is introduced, which we'll do uh, next week, not this week. We'll do the narrative of Jedi. Jedi tells the Pharaoh Khufu, introducing the word and the concept of dignity, that he can neither kill or experiment on even a nameless prisoner, suggesting that prisoner and saying that prisoner is a noble image of God and therefore has the same status as the king, as the pharaoh himself. Well, you don't hear that because there's a lot of demonization of Egypt in the Abrahamic traditions, right? But the reality is that's what is there, and I'll teach that. So we got to give as we were given, right?
Mm.
One of the things that makes me struggle the way I do is I want to give back what the ancestors gave me. I want to give back to them and I want to give to the next generation, right? I keep going like that. And then finally, of course, righteous order. When I first introduced the seven cardinal virtues, I had just order, but I noticed that sometimes when people hear order, they associate, especially us, with law and order. We're not talking about that. We're talking about righteous order. And righteous order is a kind of discipline. And discipline, Felicia, is a self imposed, reasonable restraint and sustained and focused initiative directed toward development and excellence. So let's look at that definition of the discipline or the order, the structure here. So, uh, a self-imposed, uh, it's self-imposed, uh, reasonable restraint. Now, we need to again bring order to our lives. So there has to be some restraint. So certain things you can't do and you can't let other people do, right? It's violating. Okay. But it has to be reasonable. Because some people start disciplining themselves. They even beat themselves. They talk bad about themselves. Woe is me. I'm a nasty sinner and all that. I mean, you could do that. I don't want to put that down. But to
Mm.
us, it would be extreme, right? Those things that people do when they flagate themselves, hit themselves with chains and beat themselves, and do things to themselves as penance and punishment. We say, look, it has to be a reasonable restraint, and it has to be not just a restraint, but a sustained and focused initiative directed toward development and excellence. Without discipline, there's no development. Without order, there's just chaos. And so, at the heart of this righteous order is a self imposed discipline, right? A self imposed restraint and sustained and focused and sustained, initiative directed toward development and excellence. So, those are the seven cardinal virtues, and they are present in the Husia, not in that order. I put that order to them, right? But those words are there. And one of the things I always ask people to do, don't change my work, right? Some people, I don't know why they do it. Maybe they don't want to give me credit or what. They'll just take, and people used to want to do that with the seven principles too in Guzo Saba. if you want to change something, make your own system up. You don't need to change what I've done, right? This is good. This unites us in a way other things do, especially in Guzo Saba. They unite us all over the world, African community, on every continent in the world. Kwanzaa and the Guzo Saba unite us in a way that no other practice or celebration does. Rescue me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. And it's so interesting. My best friend is a playwright, and that's one thing. During rehearsal, if someone says his lines and adds something, or even if they forget a the or they forget an a, he stops it. He has a director stop it. No, read it the way it's written, because there's a certain energy and there's a certain spirit in the way that comes through the writer when they write it. So you have to honor those words. Honor those words. So.
And you can talk about how you want to express it yourself, but first give credit to the structure you're working in, right? Right. Like if somebody wanted to change the 10 Commandments and I forgot what they want to add. Say they want to add another principle. That would be out of line. Make up your own commandments,
Exactly. And then don't call them commandments. Call them something else.
Yeah.
So now, because you were talking about the Maat principles, and only I saw Sia in the comments had a question about that in particular. She wanted to know is Maat's divine masculine counterpart? Wait, is Ma okay? Would you ask him what the laws of Ma are and Maat's divine masculine counterpart?
First of all, there's no divine laws. There's no place that says the declarations of innocence. They're there to declare themselves innocent. There is no divine law. This is what people want to do is what they're used to, commandments, laws, and all that. They want to do it because guess what? Other people are doing it. And there are laws, but it's not in this place, right? And it's not about what we're talking about now. So that's the first thing. And there's 36 and 42 declarations of innocence. I have not done this or that. That's 32 of those, right? And then 42. And the 42 is a duplicate, but the core ones are the 36, right? So what people do is they don't do the deep thinking and they don't do the deep research. And they might take somebody like Budge. That's a lot of times people do Budge. They'll take his pronunciation, which is not standard and it's not real. And then the second thing, sometimes he mistranslated things, right? And he did well for his time, but we got new understanding of what words mean. And also mine is different than theirs too, by the way. So you have to ask yourself, do you feel strong enough about this to study it? This is why our organization, US, held the first conference, the Ancient Egyptian Studies Conference, 1984, to do two things. One, to introduce the Husia, but most of all, to create an intellectual arm for the movement. And out of that came ASCAC, which I named, the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilization, right? And also we produced his first literature, we paid for the conference, organized it, etc. And we invited other people, Dr. Jake Carruthers, Dr. Ben Yaknan, Dr. John Clark, Dr. John Jackson, Dr. Wade Novas, Dr. Naeem Akbar, right? We had all those people there, right? But we called it together. And I know people want to write us out of that history. Sometimes some black people just get carried away. Sometimes they don't want to, it's hard for them to see and to concede black excellence sometimes, right? It bothers them for some reason. And it's not all the people. So I wouldn't ever condemn all the people for that. But that's it. So I think that's the first question you asked me about the laws. Now you asked me also about Maat's counterpart. The Maat's counterpart is usually Jehudi, but that's changeable. And what Maat is the daughter of Ra, and their names change from time to time, like Tefnut and Maat at the beginning of time seem similar, right? But like somebody married or all that, they don't have that counterpart like that. But we always assume, and there are relationships where Jehudi uh, acts as her male counterpart.
Okay. All right. And you know what? Let me make sure I give people some information about this class. So first of all, peace to I see Asara Imhotep in the I cannot speak today, in the comments. So peace to you. So this class, now this is just a little taste, okay? And a taste already, I have a page all full of notes already, okay? So imagine this class. I've put the link in the right in the chat, so you can just click on what it depends what platform you're watching us on. You can just click the link and go straight there to register. It's 3 classes, correct, Dr. Karenga? It's 3.
4
Sunday. It's 4 Sundays. So let me tell you why this is important, family. We're living in a time where we have scholars that are still alive that you can study with. Okay. And this is such a treat to be able to go through this book with the author. Okay. And with each other. And I like what you said, Dr. Karenga, about education needs to be more collaborative, because it does build community.
Yes.
And it opens your brain, and it's like a warm hug. So
it is.
Yeah. So family, and the other piece is that we need to support elders while they're here. Okay. We like to, like when they pass, we do a whole bunch of things, but while they're here, let's really take advantage of this. Okay. Because listen, all these things take time, they take energy, they take money to produce. And the fact that when I was talking to you today and you said you were doing this, that you've been around since the 60s, I was like, that's huge. That's huge. And like you said, there's not a lot of you left. So family, this is a beautiful opportunity. Well, you said that, I didn't say that, but listen, it is a beautiful.
It's not a lot of my colleagues left.
Yes, a lot of your colleagues.
Yes,
Yes.
Some of them older than me, but some that were my own peers. They're gone, or they walked off the battlefield before the struggle was won. And I just want to build on what you said. And I wouldn't use the word support. I don't really need support. What I need is for people to appreciate this rich heritage that I've spent decades unearthing, right? This is what we call intellectual archaeology, where you go back in ancient times and bring forth riches. It's Sankofa, right? Sankofa means reach back, retrieve, and reconstruct, right? We reach back, we get it, right? Pardon me, first, I'm sorry. Remembrance, retrieval, and reconstruction. So first we remember, we weren't really like this all the time, okay? So we go back in history. Haji Malcolm said, of all our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. Why? Because every subject you study begins with the history of that subject. And so we go back, right? And we get it. We remember, we go back, retrieve it, and then we reconstruct it so that we can use it to enhance our lives, right? To uplift us, right? To inform us of the best of our thought and practice, and to help us in our constant striving to come into the fullness of ourselves, the striving to be ourselves and to free ourselves and build the good world we all want and deserve to live in and leave as a legacy worthy of the name and history African. That's what we want from you, is to appreciate your own history. This is our history together. Learn how beautiful it is. I know, you got a Black audience, you got a Black conscious audience, and there's no end to learning, right? What does the Husia say? Do not say that you're wise, but set yourself to learn, right? To gain knowledge, Study the structure and function of the heavens. Study and structure, study the structure and function of the earth. But in all of this, remember, it is in the development of character that education succeeds. So it's not that you just learn, but you learn to be a good person who takes that knowledge to enrich your lives and the lives of your people and to do good in the world. And this is why I link African cultures, Odu Ifa, and we say Odu Ifa, Felicia, Odu Ifa, the O is O. Odu Ifa says, let's do things with joy, for surely humans have been divinely chosen to bring good into the world. And we say, this is a fundamental mission and meaning of human life. Just think about this, that this is a fundamental mission of human life, to do good in the world, that you are chosen, divinely chosen, to bring good into the world. You're chosen not over and against anybody. You're chosen with everybody to do what? To bring good into the world and not let any good be lost. That's a beautiful thought, and I like it. And then in the Husia, it says, remember when you're doing this, that you should do good knowing that the good you do for others, you're also doing for yourself, for you are building the good world, the good family, the good community we all want and deserve to live in. And remember this also, every day is a donation to eternity, and even 1 hour is a contribution to the future. Say what Ketty says. Every day is a donation to eternity, and even 1 hour is a contribution to the future. So do the good you can do. Do it wherever you are, and whenever you are. Do this good. Mm-hmm.
And you know, the other piece is that when you do good from an authentic place, you know, when you do good to someone, they have no other option but to do good to someone else. Like, it's very infectious. And I've seen it, you know, in a situation where someone could be in a really bad mood. But if you bring in a certain type of energy and you're bringing this like do goodness to others, it's like they're impacted by it. And sometimes people have said that to me, and then it makes them handle the next person way different. And so now that person's like, oh my God, I'm doing special. And so now they're doing it. And that's the beautiful thing. And as Black folks, we so need this, you know, we so need this.
And going back to your word support, I want people to support learning. I want them to support the development of the life of the mind. I want them to support the love of learning. I want them to support collaborative learning, learning together, learning for each other, and learning with each other. That's what I want. And I tried to do that when we founded ASCAT, but we weren't able. But hey, we keep going. We don't get bitter. We don't murder mouth. We just keep going. We keep building, right? And I want to say this, and I was quoting Lady Tasset when I said about the good you do, others you're also doing for yourself. Her whole quote with that section is this: do good. Doing good is not difficult. In fact, just speaking good is a monument for those who do it. For those who do good for others are also doing it for themselves. So keep in mind that just speaking good is a monument. That means a place of memory for you. You're building a monument by being good. Just think about that. And just speaking good is a contribution to that monument.
Yeah. So, and how can, you know, with this sacred text, how can it help us with like redefining or defining our spirituality, like outside of the colonialism that's going on? Like, how do we, or
what kind of going on
with like the colonialism? Colonialism.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, see, even with Black people in Christianity, they had to decolonize Christianity, deracialize Christianity, in order for them to embrace it as a religion of liberation rather than enslavement. The European taught a colonial Christianity when he taught them what is called the Catechism for the Enslaved. He said slave, but we say enslaved, of course, because
Absolutely.
slave makes it look natural. You don't even have to ask, who is it? People just assume it's black, right? The people like that. So we got to make sure we say enslaved African, because the slave takes away your name and makes it look like it's natural, and you contribute and find yourself complicit in your own oppression. So the reality is that our people had to break from this catechism of impossibility that the white Christian, who is an enslaver and a racist, taught them. Listen to the catechism E. Franklin Fraser say they used to teach us. What is my duty to God? It's my duty to my master. How do I serve God? By serving my master. Why am I in this situation? Because I'm a bad person. I mean, can you imagine growing up with that kind of understanding? And many times I was talking to some artists today, and I was talking to them about creating a different kind of art. Don't start with a problem that black people are. Don't let white people make you start making a movie where you just a drug addict or something. Even if you reform, the thing that stays in people's mind is, guess what? You can't ever be anything but that. So they want you to be redeemed. They want to be always good. And then they tell you this. They'll tell you that. This is what I'm saying about this spirituality I'm talking about. This spirituality I'm talking about reaffirms you in your dignity, right? In your right to life, in your image, in your being an image of the divine, a bearer of dignity and divinity, right? And so I was saying to them how people a lot of times say, oh, for example, when they write about Haji Malcolm, well, y'all think he's a hero and all that. It's complicated. We're gonna humanize him. And when they say that, they mean find some weakness, real or imagined, so you can find a flaw, as if humanity is defined by its flaws. So humanity is defined by its achievement as well as its flaws, right? So how is that the flaw is more human than the achievement? And guess what? I don't study Malcolm to learn his flaws. His teaching to me that I'm teaching, right, is his excellence. That's what I'm striving for. And guess what? Our ancestors become, as I said, models and mirrors for us. Models to emulate and mirrors by which we measure ourselves. And that's a measure of excellence, not a measure of our flaws, but a measure of our excellence. That'll take care of the flaws. That's important, right?
That's important.
The people got us just starting with a pathological portrait of black people.
Yeah.
So we start talking, oh, we didn't do anything. I tell people when they come on the show, when I'm on the show now, if somebody came and started asking, I would rephrase their question. And I was saying, first of all, don't say that's about all black people. Just say you saying that with somebody, right? And make sure it's not you and you not noticing it, right? You got to also do that. See, we got to be self-critical too. We got to ask ourselves, not condemn ourselves now. There's a difference between criticism and condemnation, right? And we can always look at something critically. In fact, we have a special word. I'm writing a book on critical thinking, but it's deep thinking. It's called Jair. Jair, D-J-A-E-R. That's another concept I'm introducing. And I've introduced it in many of our lectures, so I'm going to do a book on it after I finish Haji Malcolm and a couple of other books. I want to do this soon, though. I want to do this. But I just want you to see that the decolonizing the religion, which was our original country, is decolonizing our mind in general. And that's why Nana Fanon, and when I say Nana, Nana means honored one or honorable one. And we usually, in our organization, we use that for people who've passed. I know you can use it for live people too, but we use it mainly for people who've passed. And Nana Fanon said, real decolonization is not ensuring that the people leave the country, right? But it's also what? The decolonization, that we have a decolonized person. We must make sure we don't have a colonized person in a so-called decolonized land, because guess what? They would do what the oppressor did. They would imitate the oppressor. So we have a country that is not only free by the colonialists leaving our land, but also leaving our minds. And I would add, leaving our hearts, because how we feel informs how we think, and how we think informs how we feel. I'm back with the ancient Egyptians here, where if the heart mind is one process, it can't be easily separated.
You know, the Husia sounds very like a form of liberation.
Yes.
It seems, and I want to just ask you, because when every time I speak to you, you speak with so much passion, and you have these one-liners. You always make us reimagine language, right? You always make like support. I like that. I'm going to use it now forever. We ain't supporting no elder. We're showing appreciation. I
Right.
love that, right?
Mhm.
When did you, I mean, I don't know. Did you come out the womb like this, or like when did you start to get this momentum and this appreciation and love for Black people?
Okay, well, appreciate what you said, if I understand correctly. Two things real quick. We do need to support elders that need it, right?
Mhm.
But I was talking about the need for support of the culture that supports
Mhm.
the whole community. And if we build the right community, the elders will be loved and supported the way they
Absolutely.
deserve. But to try to do what people did for the movement, I don't want to get diverted, but they had special elders. They wouldn't care if the next elder lived or died. They would ask the people when they come into the room, may I speak? After that, they're finished. And I always said, maybe one time the elders ought to say no. That would demonstrate what they felt about the elder, right? So I just
Mm.
think it's very important for us to honor our elders and our ancestors, right? To cherish and challenge our children, to care for the poor and the vulnerable among us, right? To have a rightful relationship with the environment, to constantly struggle against evil, injustice, and oppression, and always raise up praise and pursuit of good. That's just a fundamental, imperative. I don't want to say commandment, a moral imperative for us. That's a kind of command, but it's not from a person or a spirit. It's an internal sense
Mhm.
you feel. You're
Yeah.
compelled to do this, compelled to do this. Now, when did I first start thinking like this? It took me time. A lot of times people, I was always Black. No, you can't be always Black. It's hard for people to claim a real strong Blackness in the way we have now before the coming of the Honorable Marcus Garvey and especially the Messenger Muhammad. Before the Nation of Islam, we didn't talk like that. Even with Garvey, there was the older people that talked Black, but they talked from a Christian Black point. The
Mm.
nation broke with Christianity. It's the first group that had the organizational and doctrinal capacity to challenge Christianity. I grew up in a Christian church. If I had even asked anything that was out of place, they would pray for me, if not punish. You see what I mean? You know that. What's wrong with that boy? That boy got the devil in him. Get that devil out that boy. Pray for it. They be praying. The elders pray for everybody. So, but the nation raised a question: can we have a white religion and a white God and ever expect liberation? They ask, the story that they tell you, is that a real one? And how is it that these people who are going to tell you about God are your enslavers, your lynchers? That was a whole different kind of way to understand. And then
Mm.
when the messenger and Haji Malcolm sacralized Blackness, made it sacred, made it divine. That was a great leap for me. Now, other people can say, I was never Muslim, right? But that Black consciousness got me. But I was always racially conscious. There's a difference between a nationalist conscious and a racial conscious. My mother and father were race people. They were very committed to the Black people as a community, but
Okay.
they didn't think in national terms like we do, confronting the white man and having our own space and all that. They just
Yeah.
want the white man to start acting civilized and not savage. They want to stop him from his savagery. In fact, this is something that, Martin Luther King uh, taught all the time: saving America, saving the soul of America. I don't want to save this soul. I don't even know if they got a soul. What I want to do is restrain them until they come to their senses, right? And I know we can only do that in struggle. And I don't want to save the country or the government. I want to save the people. The people, save the people, you save the soul. But if you lose the people, what you're doing is practicing what Haji Malcolm called an infantile and mindless patriotism. We don't need that. We don't need that, right? And so I grew up in a family that was very conscious of the people. They always told me, you've got to do good for the race. They used to say the race. And that's why in the 60s we used to say only case for the race, because we were talking about the race. You could not do anything that would embarrass the race or be a white mark against the race. You had to do what was right. But then they also said to me, they come by my European name, you're a seventh son. That means something. You know, I'm the 14th child and the seventh son, born in the 7th month on the 14th day. So they would talk to me about that had meaning. So when I come to 7 principles, 7 cardinal virtues, I mean, it's just normal to me because it has spiritual significance from the teachings of my people and my family. And so they expected things of me and they supported me in this. I organized when I was young. Even when I babysitted, I organized the room. You know, sometimes I was too strict, and then people had to tell me. But I think it is very important for us to have order. That seven cardinal virtue, that's serious to me. I'm a structured person, and I believe we should have. But I'm also flexible in certain things, but not in the root things. So I started out in a black situation. So people attack the segregated South. No, don't attack the black people. Attack the savages that segregated us, lynched us, killed us without conscience, and made us ask, as Nana C.T. Vivian asked that sick sheriff that was beating us down and violating the integrity of our lives. He asked him, you know what, just because we were trying to vote, he got up off the ground after the white boy knocked him down. He said, I want to ask you, what kind of people are y'all? What kind of people? And we have not got that answer yet. What kind of people are these people that would kill babies in the incubator, burn and destroy libraries, pay $40 billion to a foreign country to kill these people? What is that? I mean, how could they think about that? And I'm just talking about that now. What about the Native American? When the white man came here to this country, there were, by even modest estimate, 16 million people. By 1800, there was 500,000. Can you imagine that? And we don't even know how many were killed from us. You know that. We don't know. They didn't take no tab. They can come up with something now and pretend, oh, well, we shipped this and that. They don't know how many they killed of us. And they keep denying it, trying to demand. But this is a strange people here. And the reality is, how do we, Nana Ella Baker said, change this system, which has made them into the kind of monsters they are, the oppressors that they are. So I came up like that. And I came up in a context of struggle. I came up in a context where I have to walk miles to school, where I had to, with my sister and brother, work and sometimes leave school to work in the field. I did migrant labor. But we had a spiritual grounding, a deep love for each other. I didn't know we were poor until I came here and there was some conversation about poverty levels. I just knew we didn't have as much as we could have had if we were paid the same wages, right? I never understood that. But guess what? These conversations had to be held in private and secretly almost, because the savages were always at the door waiting to kill us, to lynch us, to imprison us, to beat us, to do a lot of other things. So I came up in that atmosphere, and I was always then against oppression, but I could not, I didn't have a structure for it until the evolution of the movement. And the movement gave me a chance. I worked in the civil rights movement, but I came to flower in the Black Power movement. That's where I built. my organization, developed my philosophy, developed Kwanzaa and the Nguzo Saba in the Black Power period.
Wow. I love that you start off. You said not if nobody's started off black. I like when you said that. Like that's what's up.
You know, not the kind of black we have. They can be racially conscious.
Yeah.
Nana Garvey was racially conscious, but he was in a Christian context. And like, for example, Bishop, now I'm gonna give you an example. And this is not putting anybody down, it's just showing distinctions, right? Everybody has a right to develop how they see.
Mm-hmm.
So, and see, because when you say you're a Christian, you have a different attitude toward the oppressor and the enemy than the black nationalist would have, or than a Muslim would have. You see what I mean? That's just a reality. So that's how I'm just drawing distinction. Bishop Henry McNeil Turner is the first person that we have on record that said God was black, but he said Negro. He was using Negro then, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he did it within the Christian concept. He didn't question Christianity. Muhammad came, said God is black, not a Negro, a black, and made God look like us, act like us, talk like us, and therefore had our interests in heart in a different way. Now, I was never a Muslim. I repeat, I was never a Muslim. But the whole idea that someone developed a theology of reaffirmation of blackness, of secularizing blackness, that was important to me as an intellectual, because I had become surfeited, sick to the stomach, with Europeans claiming all knowledge, all relevance. And I'm looking for other ways. And I think I've said this on your program before, and I've said it certainly in countless interviews. Before I read African literature like I know now, and learning the African languages like I know now, I studied Asian literature. That was what I knew, right? But then I asked myself in the 60s, where's the black people's literature? And of course, Nana Garvey had already asked that question, but I didn't find him in his own writing. I found him as a quote in the writings of Nana Kwame Nkrumah, first president of Ghana.
Oh, wow.
The great Pan-Africanist. And what he quoted was Marcus Garvey said, I asked, where's the black man king in his kingdom, his army, his navy, his men of big affairs? I could not find them. And I declared unto myself, I would help make them. So I assumed that myself with him like that. I thought we need to make a space for ourselves. And so we have to have Kujichagulia, self-determination, right? Mm-hmm. Free space, control the space we occupy, control the institutions that determine the quality and capacities of our lives, you know? So those are just ways I came. It's a long question, long road there.
No, thank you. Thank you. Because, you know, sometimes, you know, so I know that we shouldn't compare our journey to someone else's journey, but when you're on the journey back to yourself and rediscovering yourself, it's always nice to because sometimes you feel things, or you just kind of like feel certain things, and it's nice to know that, you know, reading, you know, like your biography or anyone's biography of like how, you know, like how did you just come to be and, you know, be where you are. Like that's really important.
It is, and you can compare. Don't force the comparison, but all of us, including myself, are a result of those who've touched our lives, who taught us in ways we might not even realize then, but left us a legacy we could hold on to, and that we could, in fact, triumph over overwhelming odds and adversaries. And that's why I like, and I always say this now after I learned this, I think all of us should remember these three quotes by these three ancestors: Nana Howard Thurman, Nana Gwen Brooks, and Nana Nanny Beers. It talks about our resourcefulness, our resilience, our deep spirituality, our capacity to do the impossible. Now, Nana Howard Thurman said, we are people who ride the storm and remain intact. What a beautiful idea that we can ride the storm and remain intact. Nana Gwen Brooks said, we are people who conduct our blooming in the noise and whip of the whirlwind. Imagine that, blooming in a whirlwind, right? In the noise and whip of a whirlwind. That's black people. And then last, Nana Nanny Barrett said, we are people that specialize in the holy impossible. Just think of those three things every day. We got a whole different concept of ourselves. Storm riders, bloomers in the whirlwind, and creators of the holy impossible. That's black people.
Yeah, I like that. We ride the storm. We ride the storm. That's what's
and
up.
Remain intact.
Remain
Storm
intact.
tears people up. You know, if a storm is rough on you.
Absolutely.
You can ride the storm and remain intact. He said there's a good feeling about that. To be able to ride the storm and remain intact. And Gwen Brooks, that beautiful poetry she writes about black people who conduct their blooming in the noise and whip of the whirlwind. We're going to bloom anyhow. They can't stop us, you know? And I always use that example, how they outlawed reading and writing for us. And in less than 100 years out of the Holocaust of enslavement, we created a world-class literature second to none.
Second to none.
Hey.
Yeah. Whatever they try to stop us from doing, we actually do it, and we do it well and beyond, you know.
That's blooming in the noise and whip of the whirlwind.
Yeah. I think about those girls
creating the holy impossible.
Yes.
Achieving.
I think about those girls playing tennis, and I look now, it's so many black people playing tennis and playing tennis well. You know, this is this is nice.
And we achieved in every field that we go into, but we first were limited to sports and entertainment. See, the white man, when he enslaved us, he objectified us. We became tools of his filthy desire and intentions. And so he reduced us to objects of labor, objects of sex, and objects of entertainment. And he still tries to hold us to that. But mindless labor. He doesn't want to recognize our intellectual labor. He wants us to just be physical. Yeah. Right? And even now with the machines coming, of course, that's no longer relevant either. And with another immigrant population, he would prefer the immigrant over us. And this is no anti. I'm against what Trump's doing to the immigrant. My text, the Husia, says we're supposed to be a guide for the stranger, right? And we're supposed to treat every human being as a noble image of the divine and a bearer of dignity. So that's not a problem for me. And because the immigrants are also Africans, right? And a lot of people don't know. They don't think about it. They see immigrant, they see just Latinos, and they might have an attitude to Latino, but they don't even recognize they're black Latinos. They're Afro Latinos, right? Second, no one is treated worse than a Haitian immigrant. So we got to get involved in the immigration issue. And then there's the continental African. And, you know, we just got people involved. There's Afro-Asian involved. There's a lot of Africans everywhere. But even if they're not Africans, they're human beings. And if we're the moral people we say we are, we're the moral and social vanguard, right? That's what we are, right? Then we have to speak truth to the people and speak truth to power. Our text, the Husia says, we're morally obligated to bear witness to truth and to set the scales of justice in their proper place among those who have no voice, the devalued, the degraded, the oppressed. That's what we have to do everywhere, all the time.
Everywhere, all the time. Yeah, you know what? This is my final question. Is there any part of the Husia that you personally return to most often, like in your life? Like, is there any like passage or or text in there that you use a lot?
Well, not really. It's just like the principles. I don't have a favorite seven principle. I don't have a favorite seven cardinal virtues. But there are some verses I quote most often, like every day is a donation to eternity, because I'm conscious of that. I'm trying to get as much done as I can, right? I want to leave a legacy worthy of the name and history African, right? That's important to me. For my mother and father, to honor my ancestors, all of them, right? To honor the work my organization has done for 60 years, right? I want to do that. Also, the verse that says that, and this is a beautiful verse for me in terms of discipline, because I put a lot of emphasis on discipline. Without discipline, there's no development. And it says, one who can master the heart and mind has the equivalence of all the teachings. And what does that mean? That means that every vice you want to avoid and every virtue, that's excellence, you want to achieve depends upon your mastering the heart and mind. Not just limiting. Remember, I told you reasonable restraint, but also focus and sustained initiative directed toward what? Development and excellence, right? So we're talking about mastering, it's gaining a skill in it, knowing your mind, knowing your heart, developing the best heart possible, the best mind possible, right? And then another verse that's companion to that, Seva Pahadbo, says that one who carefully considers the good is the one that can master it. You got to think on good. Now, in the old days, and this is one thing I in my article on 60th anniversary, one of the things I said was that long ago, people did good and had no name for it. They just did it as part of their character, right? They knew without knowing. They knew this was good without knowing a name for it. And they did it. And they asked no one to recognize them for it. We're past all that now, right? But it's good as a model for the old days. So my mother and father, if they saw somebody in the neighborhood that needed something, they didn't have to be asked. They would go and take care of it. One of the way you asked about my development and growing up, I was like 7, 8, I don't know. I started going with my mother to visit people who were sick or just had issues. And mom would just come and sit with them. I would sit for hours without saying anything. I mean, I like the children, even now. So even when I was put in captivity on trumped up charges, I was able to deal with this, even in the hole, by counting on the life of my mind, all the things I learned coming up. But also I memorized a lot of texts. And I would recite them to myself, right? The poetry. I remembered a lot of poetry. And I would recite them to myself. Lectures, speeches. So what happened in all of this is I wanted you to see that this cultivation that the people taught. Now, my mother didn't say, just keep quiet. She didn't have to say that. I emulated her. She was a mirror for me by which I measured myself. The way my father said, now I haven't mastered this, but my father used to say, always leave, when you're speaking, always leave before your audience does. I haven't mastered that because I go on, I'd like to go on and drink. And in the 60s, we had long lectures. So I just got into it. So I broke that little habit of whatever habit I had of being short. I don't do that. But just those things I think about all the time, about how they modeled and mirrored so much of what is in my life. And even though I left the church, the Christian church, the lessons my mother and father taught me are still with me. And I find parallels from them, earlier parallels for them already in the Husia. So it's like a reaffirmation. And I used to, even when I was no longer in the tradition, I would write my mother biblical verse. I would never try to talk to her about something outside. That's propriety. That's something I wouldn't do. There's no reason for me to do that.
Yeah.
A young person, though, I challenge them, right? But an older person, I don't. My mother and father taught me I don't do that. I don't think that's proper.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say is that I developed this concept, and you'll learn it in the class, called the Sejimic person. Sejim in ancient Egyptian means to listen, to hear, and to comply. Those are three. I retranslated those so that listen is rightful attentiveness. To hear is empathetic understanding, and complying is appropriate action as requested or required. Appropriate action as requested or required. And so I saw when I go back, I see my mother especially, but my father too, because I don't want to, leave the black man out. But, most of us were mother focused. And so I'm getting these lessons because the mother teaches us first, right? So she was always rightfully attentive to people. And sometimes we say, "Oh, I love you, brother." Well, you haven't even paid me attention. You haven't called me. How you gonna be loving me? I don't even know you, comrade. Let's be honest. I mean, speaking generally, okay, yeah, we all love our people, right? But when you just say it, it tends to make it less meaningful.
Yeah.
Everything, Felicia, including love, must become a practice if it's to be real. Every principle in life must become a practice if it is to be a living tradition, if it is to be a meaningful expression of what it means to you, right? That's so important to me. So the reality is that my mother was always rightfully attentive to everybody, to the older person and to the child, to the familiar person and the stranger. Give food to people we don't know, right? There was no discussion. Should we give it to them? They might use dope or something. Hey, it's better to give it to 9 who are wrong than to miss the 10th one. That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my students. Now, I don't expect them to do that, but that's a model they could emulate. And if they just strive to do some of that, that would be good. So again, my mother was rightfully attentive. Second, she always had an empathetic understanding. She could feel people. And black people, this is what I call knowing without knowing, Felicia. You ever notice how black people, I can feel you. I feel you. Right? They not only mean that they feel your pain, but they empathize with you. And they understand you through their empathy. They understand you through feeling for you. They don't understand you because there's some great rational logic thing that's been put forth for them. They understand you in their feeling because they care for you. They want the best for you, right? That's the empathetic. I came from my mother. Then the last thing, and this is important, she was always did what was appropriate. She always did the appropriate action as requested and required. Sometimes people would need something from you, Felicia, they can't ask you, but it's required. And if you're a suggestive person, a hearing person, a listening and feeling person, guess what? You'll do it.
Yeah.
If you got a good friend or you got somebody you care for, a lot of times they just don't want to bother you, think might be a burden. I don't know what people do it, but they do. I don't feel that. If I need something, I'm going to ask you. See?
That's good.
But that's because I have a strong self-concept. I don't think it diminishes me. But the people that don't have a strong concept, they think it diminishes them by asking you. The same thing with learning.
Wait.
One of the reasons people can't learn more, they don't want to say they don't know. It's like my student, I say something. She said, well, I don't want to say something because you might, I forgot what they call it. They feel I'm going to make them feel like they don't know nothing. But I say, you don't know. That's why you're in the class. Why would you feel funny about that? You came to learn it.
Absolutely.
But that's what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to sum up. We try to be a systemic person. I want to teach on that. I'm spending a lot of time on that, go over that. So I think you enjoy that.
Yeah. You know what? Just thank you. Thank you. You said a lot of things. I've tried to write down as many things as I can. And I'm 100% going to listen to this again and again and get your get your thoughts on a lot of things. But I appreciate you saying that from a lot of people don't ask for help because they feel like it diminishes them, And I was sitting there thinking, because I'm like one of those people who I can be, hanging off a cliff with one, on a little string, and I can see somebody. I'm not going to ask you. I'm like, oh, I don't want to,
Yeah.
But I thank you, because that's making me rethink some stuff.
Yeah.
That's actually
That's how we build community, Felicia, by
Yeah.
caring for each other in practice, not just in word. We need to talk the word. I'm not putting down the word. I'm not one of those either or people.
Yeah.
I'm saying both.
Yeah.
Speak love and gentleness and goodness to each other, but also do love and gentleness and goodness for each other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that was one of the things that I'm always telling my kids, like I said, you're saying a lot of stuff right now, but I'm looking at your actions. And I was like, and those two things need to align. And I think we first start off by saying it, but
That's
then
right.
yeah, and the integration of it is no joke. And that's when you're when I really started to pay attention to my life, like really paying attention to how I respond to things, what I think, all of those things, I was like, wow, the integration of this is no joke. Because intellectually, I understand, I understand what's going on. I have a good grasp of that. But then when you have to actually walk in those, walk that's things. So I really appreciate it. Yeah, I really appreciate this. I appreciate the Husia. But and also I feel like the way that it's written, it's I wrote it down. It's like it's written in a forward progression way. It's not meant, it's not like, it's not a bunch of orders. It's made to move you forward and to move us forward. So I thank you. Oh, I so appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks to the ancestors for giving us such a rich culture.
Yes.
It's our responsibility to excavate that, to get there deeply, bring it to the surface.
You know what you said? Yeah, you said ancient archaeology. I was like, oh,
intellectual archaeology. Mm-hmm.
Wow, intellectual archaeology. I tell you, oh my,
I said in the past.
Yeah, I think I've said this before on the show, that someone just needs to do just a book of one-liners from Dr. Karenga, because your one-liners, the way you take the language,
take quotation, because you say one-liner, it sounds like popular culture and it diminishes.
Yeah, not one-liner.
Just say quotes.
But you
short,
have a way,
short quotes.
But you have a way of saying something that makes it attainable. Like the empathetic understanding. That's attainable. Like I can attain. Like I just love the way that you put this. How you just you reuse words. I don't know if you reuse words, but you know what I'm saying. You make them more attainable for us. So thank you.
Asante, one of the things that I learned from Haji Malcolm said in a lecture at Harvard, the logic of the oppressed cannot be the logic of the oppressor if they want liberation. And I said, based on that, even as we need a logic of liberation, we need a language to inform that logic. And that means creating words, concepts that enrich and direct that logic, that thinking, right? And that's what you're noticing. I do conceptual generation. I generate concepts that help us better understand ourselves and the world.
Absolutely.
That's what I do. So
absolutely.
The concept of Nguzo Saba, the concept of Maat as a fundamental way to understand Egypt. Before that, people, they talk more spirituality, the mystery systems, all that. I say, no, Maat is a fundamental way we ought to understand. And it's the ethical lessons from ancient Egypt. I admire Diop, and certainly I learned a lot from him. I should say Nana Shekanta Diop. Yeah. He was a multi-discipline intellectual, and he did language and history, archaeology, physics. So, but he did not create a structure by which we could understand the rich literature of ancient Egypt. Like George E. James, not in Georgia James. They pointed the way, but they didn't give us the text. They didn't give us the text. And so the Husia is to give you the text so you can read yourself. I should tell you that when I first did this, at least one elder said I shouldn't reveal these mysteries. You know, I'm against that. You know, I don't think that the masses should be deprived of any knowledge that helps them, that gives them an expanded conception of themselves. Why are we hiding knowledge? Why? What's the purpose of that? Knowledge is liberation, right?
Knowledge is liberation.
Right. One of the characteristics of God, all-knowing. One of the first criteria, the Odu Ifa, the sacred text of the Yoruba, said the first criteria for a good world is knowledge of all things, happiness everywhere. You see, this is so important for us. And then they say, what is the first criteria? What is the first tool to build a good world? And they say wisdom, especially moral wisdom, adequate to govern the world. And the word akaso in Yoruba means poor, this government. It means poor people together for good purposes. That's what it government. And that's what we should think of in terms of leadership and in governing our lives also, pulling people together for good purposes. I like that. That's organization too. So I just want you to see what you were saying is I'm developing concepts to better understand ourselves and the world. And understanding ourselves is the first point and the most important point, Felicia, because how we understand ourselves is how we assert ourselves in the world. If we have a diminished understanding of ourselves in the world, that's how we assert ourselves in the world. But if we have an expansive conception of ourselves, an expansive understanding of ourselves in the world, that is how we will assert ourselves in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can close with a quotable. You know, that was the only book I developed in the 60s, the quotable Karenga. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
No.
Yeah, we have a book. It's a classic now. It's on the internet for $500 and stuff like that. Don't buy it. We can duplicate it for you. But just think about this. Here's what I would like to end with. I always end my lectures and interviews and conversation with this if we have time. This is our duty, to know our past and honor it, to engage our present and improve it, and to imagine a whole new future and to forge it in the most ethical, effective, and expansive ways. And this too, Black people, our ancestors teach us, continue the struggle, keep the faith, hold the line, love and respect our people and each other, practice the Nguzo Saba, seek and speak truth, do and demand justice, be constantly concerned with the well-being of the world and all in it, and dare help rebuild the overarching movement that prefigures and makes possible the good world we all want and deserve to live in and leave as a legacy worthy of the name and history African. Hotel, Ashe, Eric.
Peace. Thank you. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Peace.
All right.
Take care. See you tomorrow.
All right.
Take care. To
Right. Peace.
Peace.
Family, there you go. Listen, let me I'm gonna put the link to everything is still in the it's in the chat. And if you want to sign up for the class, you can go right here to the African American Cultural Center -la.org. Family, thank you for tuning in. Listen, this is such a this is such a great platform because, and not just because I'm on the platform, but it's, you know, just the ability to be able to chat with these elders and get insights to how they are creating their legacies, you know, and we had the opportunity to take part in it. So family, if you could, I would 100% get in this class with Dr. Karenga, because it is going to be off the chain. And, he introduced this book. I mean, he's had the book out for a minute, but I remember him talking about it maybe 2 or 3 years on a HAPI Talks. So this is nice. And I remember, back in the day, I was like, you got to you need to help us go through this text. So it's great that he's able to, bring this, and 4 sessions, and you get to meet a whole bunch of other like-minded people, family. Make sure that you try to support him. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Shazmu Patah Aman. You was getting it in this chat. You had like 1,200 chats over here. I was trying to keep up with y'all. But thank you, family, for tuning in. Michael, Carl Foster. That's what's up. Thank you. Thank you. Yay. So family, make sure that you are signed up. Make sure that you like and share this. I know it's like Saturday night. People are probably out like partying, but thank you for seeing this live. And family, who I always use, because I love how Professor Small always says this. He's like, peace and blessings. So peace and blessings until next time.
I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority. Honestly,
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?